We'll have a big digital one on the wall.
I have a stopwatch.
Or we'll just get a better camera. Connor's got the clap. You ready? All good to go?
All good.
Okay.
Fix the hair.
What's up, everybody? You're very welcome to Anfield Agenda. Today we've got a special little treat for you, a short video, a pre-recorded video, not something we really do on here. I'm joined by Brian and I'm joined by Connor. And what we thought we'd do is have a look at possible outgoings from the club this summer. Now, we've broken this down into two lists. We've gone with players that are currently at the club and players that have been out on loan. And Connor, the first name that I think we need to have a conversation about here, buddy, is Simon Mignolet. A man that everybody knows and I've been very vocal about when he was our first choice keeper. For me, he wasn't good enough, but this season he has been nothing but a consummate professional.
Yeah, no complaints from him, to be fair. It can't be easy to sit on the bench every week. I know it sounds easy, but like, he's a professional footballer. He wants to play, so like, fair play to him. Like, you see him on social media every week congratulating Alisson after having good games. There's no spike there, I don't think. Like, so yeah, he's a model professional, but yeah, I think he has to go just to get football. Like,
Brian, he's getting to this point in his career. I think Mignolet's around 30, 31, something like that. At that point in his career, I think you can never complain about a player that just wants to move on and get game time.
No, especially not when he's been as loyal, and like Connor was saying, he hasn't caused any disruption whatsoever. And when you watch some of those videos, you see the keepers going out, you realise how much of a hierarchy there is between keepers. And it's a real, when you get dropped to number 2, you really are, it's a real demotion. So for him to be able to say, right, no, I'll support the team, like on Instagram, on social media, he's 100% no complaints about him. But time has come. We have to do what's best for him as well.
Moving him on though, there's a couple of things that are interesting about it. One, originally everybody thought last summer he was going to be the one moved on, but Loris Karius then went and he went to Besiktas on that 2-year loan to buy deal. The tricky part for me about Mignolet is to try and place a value on him, because when you're valuing a goalkeeper, 30-31 is probably 27-28, because a goalkeeper can go to 36, 37, 38 if needs be. We've seen Gianluigi Buffon, he's still going and he's 107 or something like that. So what type of figure do you think Michael Edwards, in his infinite wisdom, and I think he's earned the phrase infinite wisdom now, will go and look for Simon Mignolet?
If it wasn't for Edwards, I'd say 10 million, but seeing as he's there, I'd say about 15. I think he'd work his magic. Where would he go though? Will he go to a lower Premier League team, mid-table Bundesliga team?
So remember last season, I think, Brian, he was linked to Napoli and then they went and got a Spina instead of him. I mean, and I was praying, I had the rosary beads out, everything last year, hoping that one went through.
I think Italy, anywhere like that, a lot of top clubs would happily take Mignolet. He'd be improvement for a lot of clubs lower down the Premier League, and Italy, France. I don't think any problems getting his market value for him, 15 million, something like that.
I suppose we should push on. The next player I want to have a chat about is somebody that I've been saying for weeks I think is going to move on, and now after reading a couple of things over the last 24 hours or so, I'm not really sure of, and that player is Dejan Lovren.
Yeah, he looked like he was leaving, but then, like, you see, was James Pearce came out this morning and said, we're not interested in Delayton, we don't want a centre-back. You'd have to think he's staying then. But, like, will he be happy as a fourth-choice defender? Like, that's the question.
I suppose the question is as well, Brian, we might see him as a fourth-choice defender, but do you think that Jurgen Klopp sees him behind Joel Matip?
At this stage, I think he definitely does, yeah. 100%.
He has to. Sure. Matip's been starting all season. Like, I know Lovren's been injured now, but Matip's just a step above. So much more consistent.
And what's your feeling on Dejan Lovren? Like, what do you think he's okay to have as a fourth-choice centre-back? Would you trust to drop him in now in the Champions League final?
I think I would, to be honest. Like, he's not the best defender in the world like he claims to be and all, but...
How fucking dare you, sir? How dare you?
But like, when you think of like how good a centre back he actually is, like we've seen last year, like, and he's our fourth choice. When you have 3 players better than him, it's good options. Like, we've been unlucky with injuries, so he's probably not going to play too much next year if we're not as unlucky.
Well, that's my fear about all of this centre back situation here, Brian. We're talking about Matip, Gomez, and Degsy Lovren. Van Dijk looks like he's just a machine, doesn't pick up injuries. But between those 3 guys, you could name off a lot of injuries, a lot of time off.
Yeah, you're always going to get that, but like, the question is, I don't think Lovren's quite good enough, because it's a mentality thing, attitude thing. I don't trust him to be level-headed, cool-headed in big games when it really matters.
And moving into midfield then, I think the next player, one that I've been touting should move on for about 6 or 7 months, and that is Adam Lallana. If rumours are to be believed, he's looking for a move back to the South Coast. I've seen links to Southampton predominantly.
Yeah, it'll be a good move for him. I used to love Lallana. Like, he was a very good player when Klopp came in. He was the literal definition of a Klopp type player, but I don't know what's actually happened to him. I think he got injured a few times and kind of just fell off form, I guess. But yeah, he probably should leave because like he's not going to get into this team now.
Do you think it's a case, Brian, of, as Connor said, maybe age catching up with him or the team progressing? And when Klopp came in, Lallana suited that pressing system, and him and Bobby Firmino were so important. And now maybe the calibre of footballer that we have, or the level that Klopp has coached these guys to, has gone a little bit past Lallana.
Yeah, I think you've explained it pretty much spot on there. Sometimes the team moves beyond the player. And Lallana was exactly what we needed when Klopp arrived, but teams get better. You leave some lads behind, and that's what's going to happen to Lallana, I think, because the age of him. If he was 23, no, but no, it's just that's what happens. I think some players outgrow clubs outgrow some players.
The figure being mentioned, I want to get both your takes on this really quickly. Connor, to you first. Around 13 million is what I've seen, and I think that's far too cheap for Adam Lallana.
It's hard to know. What age is he? 29, 30, is he?
I think he's 30.
Yeah,
I think 13, 15 million is probably sound, isn't it? We paid 20 for him a couple of years ago, and he's not as good as he was then, so I'd say 15 is probably sound.
And for you, Brian?
20. Definitely 20, 22 million.
Then again, Michael Edwards, he would get.
Yeah, I was just going to say it's a normal 15, but it's a Michael Edwards 20.
Yeah, it's interesting.
Moving further up the field, and I don't think there's really much else in midfield. I mean, we could have a quick conversation around James Milner, but it looks like Jimmy has another year on his contract. I know Sky put out something that showed a team of out of 11s this summer, and I put the image up on our social media account, and I was fully of the belief that James Milner was out of contract in the summer. Then when I heard that he had another year, I thought, oh, this must be one of those extensions that the club could trigger or that James Milner could trigger. But it does seem, Connor, from what we've read, and I see this is very good news, that James Milner won't be going anywhere.
Seems that way, yeah. I think if Leeds that came up, we would have had a different conversation. Because I think he would have liked to go there for a year or two before he retires, but didn't come up. So yeah, I'd say he's staying another year at least, possibly two.
And for you, Brian?
I think Milner's a very interesting one because his age, his wages, his chances of getting another deal at the end of next year, I think he could go. I think there could be a possibility that he could leave.
Where would he go, do you think?
Can't say Leeds, no.
No. To a club that fires somebody and hires a manager that's worked with him before or knows what him, could convince him to do a job somewhere else and be the catalyst for something at a team.
Could be a good backup to a young manager as well. He could be a good level head there to make
that's
that
what I was
bridge.
going to say next.
I think like an assistant manager slash player.
He's moving. You can see James Milner definitely wanting just to keep himself involved in football and fitness side of it. Just wanting to be playing football all the time. I think if somebody came along and said something similar to Brendan Rodgers going to Leicester, someone said, come to this club and in 3 years' time you'll be my Michael Carrick. You know, if it's a manager he's worked with before, respects him, he could have a partnership, a new manager in mind. Someone like that chap Graham Potter who was going to take over Brighton. That's the only thing I could see him being interested in a new project.
It's very fair points.
He'd
very
have to
valid
take a
points.
massive wage cut though, wouldn't he? Because he's on like 120.
I think he's already proven that that's not that important to him. Didn't he turn down more money from Manchester City to come and play for Liverpool at the time?
Yeah. Like, to take the step down to Brighton, he'd have to
Oh,
take
just
a
as a sort of an example, if someone, I think someone has to be sacked, you know, in the summer, and someone that we won't have seen coming says, I want to make an offer to Milner because I see him as a potential. Such a good influence on a young team and new squad maybe, and he sees him as a potential assistant. Just I think if not this year, that's something I could see him definitely doing. Not just going to New York City for 2 years.
I think kind of Jurgen Klopp loves James Milner so much, and rightly so, because he is that level head, that experienced head, that winning mentality in the dressing room. I think he's going to be part of the inspiration why the guys want to go and win this Champions League final as well, because it's the only thing, apart from national, obviously, awards, because England ain't going to ever win anything. I mean, talk about the Nations League, but it's basically the Europa League. Nobody cares. Sorry for everybody English that's watching. You know that we love you. We have to allow us a little bit of Irish bitterness here. I mean, every now and again. So look, with James Milner, I think we're all happy if he stays another year. But you're a little bit, if a project that maybe appealed to him came up.
Wouldn't begrudge him anything. Any player like that age, that stage of their career, English, if they want to move on, and there's a great opportunity there for him. He's been nothing but brilliant for us.
Now, a couple of players who are out of contract, so there isn't really a conversation to be had around them. We're talking Alberto Moreno, Daniel Sturridge, and 118. And for anyone, sorry, Adam Bogdan, for people who don't know,
legend.
118 is. Look, he's gone, thankfully. He was at Hibs, no problem there. But a quick, I suppose, just a very brief couple of words on Alberto Moreno, your memories of him and what you regard Alberto Moreno as to Liverpool, and Daniel Sturridge as well.
I literally have two memories of Moreno. One being, was it like his third game? He like ran the length of the pitch and scored a Gareth Bale kind of goal against Spurs, yeah. And then obviously Europa League final, this complete calamity. So I won't miss him.
That goal against Spurs, I still remember thinking, oh, here we go. We have a player here.
I was thinking he was next John Arne-Risa then. Like,
I've said this numerous times. I'm not somebody that really rates John Arne-Risa that highly. I think he was very frustrating to watch. But look, that's a whole other conversation. For you, Mr. Chimp Tattoo, Alberto Moreno, it looks like he's good fun around the dressing room.
What are my abiding memories of Alberto Moreno? That he was a hell of a lot better for Sevilla than he ever was for us. I kind of forgotten about that goal. I was massive disappointment, and that just a complete liability half the time.
And when you say he was better for Sevilla, do you mean when he was playing for Sevilla or when he was playing for us?
Either or, I think, buddy. And the really difficult one here, Daniel Sturridge, because we could pull it. We could talk 13-14, how amazing he was with Luis Suarez. We can talk about that goal against Sevilla in the Europa League final that only Daniel Sturridge could have scored, or the one this season against Chelsea. I mean, we can talk about his injuries, but the man is on form, just class.
Yeah, even now, like with injuries and all, he's lost his pace, but you'd still see just the touch and finishes. Like that Chelsea goal was unbelievable. Ridiculous.
It was absolutely beautiful.
I'm just shocked that like when Klopp came in, I remember Sturridge came back from injury and he scored a few goals, and we were thinking, this is it now, he's back. And we just don't care about him anymore. That's how far we've progressed. We just don't give a shit about him anymore.
They really went out of their way, Brian, Jurgen Klopp and the club, to try. Remember they sent him over to Miami or to Florida? Or no, actually, I think it wasn't at Boston. It was not MIT or Harvard or somewhere. Like they sent him somewhere to get proper rehabilitation.
Yeah, it was Boston because I remember it's the owner's town he went to.
Does Harvard in Boston then? I think
I
to
believe
Massachusetts.
It's in that area. But yeah, for Daniel Sturridge, probably the most natural finisher, probably definitely at the club now. The imagination, just X Factor type of player. The Chelsea
I'm
goal.
so close to singing now, mate. You're saying imagination, X Factor. I mean,
don't blame me
I'm trying my best to restrain myself.
Don't blame me if he starts singing. But he's got that magic touch, you know. We'll miss him. But that season where him and Luis Suarez were just going toe for toe.
That wiggly arm stance, man. I love the wiggly arm stance.
You might see it. You might see it one more time.
I hope so, and I think he hoped so when he played recently as well.
Just a few minutes. He's shown that he only needs to be on the pitch for 5 minutes, because what he has, you can't really lose. It's just the physical things that drop off.
It's just the explosiveness, I think, of the first 5-10 yards
but
he lost, because he doesn't trust his body, I don't think.
No, he hasn't in a very long time. I have a very long and laboured analogy about Daniel Sturridge, but it's basically he's that guy. You all meet up to go out for a drink. You all meet up at his house, and you're all going to go out the door. And he's like checks himself in the mirror. He's like, "Hang on, lads, hang on." Goes upstairs. He comes back down a half an hour later. To you, he looks like exactly the same as he did when he went upstairs. But to him, now he's fixed it. Now he's right. Now he's perfect. He could never go out on the pitch and represent himself if he didn't feel 100% fit, because like you said, that wouldn't allow him to impact on the game. And I think that took away from him a little bit, that whole idea of, you see when he goes out, everything has to be right, the way he walks on, everything has to be just right for Daniel Sturridge. And I think that's in his body as well. And it stopped him really just saying, forget it, I know I've got a pain in me, but I'll go out, I'll play.
Another player I think that has been great to younger players coming through, any videos that you've seen coming out of the club, the carpool karaoke, all that type of stuff, he just seems like a good character.
He does, yeah. He's a bit like Chamberlain, really, isn't he? Just like good on camera.
Except he 100% wants to be a rapper. 100%.
Oh, definitely.
Do you remember
do you remember
the relation he struck up with Keita when he came first? Do you remember that on the US tour? Him and Keita were playing little triangles with each other. They were best mates. Loads of pictures of them hanging out together. He was really, really good with like a new lad coming into the club. You know, it looked like, oh, this Sturridge Keita partnership could be something special, but it was just, that's pre-season tour stuff.
I think that pretty much covers everybody bar one name. I left one name right till the end because I think this is probably going to be the most difficult or divisive name, Divock Origi. he has scored this season some of the most important goals for the club, and to me, he looks like a player that has finally discovered his confidence and that belief in himself. And when you've come on, I don't know about starting now. I'm not sure about Divock Origi as a starting player, but at times his explosiveness, he can make the game look so easy, and he can make defenders look really silly.
Yeah, for a man who hasn't played an awful lot of games, like he scored so many important goals. Like it was 2 against Barca, the Everton game.
Shout out to Pickford.
Yeah, legend, T-Rex arms. I'm sure there was another 2 or 3, wasn't there? But yeah, he's just been brilliant off the bench. Like and again, he hasn't complained at all. And
Newcastle, he scored the goal at Newcastle.
I think he might have, yeah. But like it's ridiculous. I don't think we can sell him. He's a club legend now at this stage, just after this season.
What's the rumour is that Klopp finally now thinks, yep, I've seen enough of Divock Origi. He has convinced me that he is worth a new contract.
I wouldn't.
Okay, I can understand that.
I think he's a very interesting character. I think he's an example for anyone that's not getting in a team how to work your way back into it just from attitude. Because he went to Wolfsburg, was it? Almost got relegated with them. Basically was being touted out to every club in Europe. He came back, got his head down, didn't complain, didn't give out, stuck it out, trained, won the manager's trust back, was given an opportunity, then took that opportunity. But the thing I've always felt with Origi is that he needs a certain hunger. And I think he's one of those players that he'll be brilliant when he comes on for half an hour and then he starts the next game because of it and he doesn't have the same impact. I think he's just a little bit of a level below. But if we're not bringing in, if we're not spending, he's good backup. But that'd be it.
So do you think Divock Origi is going to be here at the end of this transfer window?
Yes.
Connor?
Yeah.
That brings us round, I suppose, to loan players, guys. And one player that immediately comes to mind when we talk about loan players is Harry Wilson. Now, Harry Wilson's had a very good season at Derby, but I've got to be honest about this, Connor. I've seen the flashy goals, I've seen the Goal of the Month awards, but I haven't watched a little bit of him for Derby this season. I've also seen the young player that drifts in and out of games. So I want your thoughts on this before I give you mine, because I don't like to influence people with my thoughts. Not that I believe I'm that influential. I mean, I'm not Mark Goldbridge. I'm not the most influential person. You know, the award-winning Mark Goldbridge. And a shout-out to Mark. We do like Mark on the channel. Anyway, Harry Wilson. What do you think is going to happen? Some people in the papers are suggesting that he's on the list of players to move on.
I think he will have moved on because, like you said, you see the screamers on Twitter every couple of weeks, but that's all you see. You see that short 20-second clip of a 90-second or 90-minute game every week. Like, he's obviously just not consistent enough throughout the game. Like you said, he just tends to drift in and out, and obviously if he's been moved on, Klopp doesn't think he's good enough, so I trust his judgment on that.
Here is a perfect example, Brian, I suppose, of a player that you can put together a 5-minute compilation on YouTube and make him look like Lionel Messi.
I wouldn't go so far as to call him a YouTube player, but he definitely is. He's inconsistent, which comes a little bit with the position, because the creative players can't always influence every game all the time. But there comes a point in a kid's development where you think, unless they play for Chelsea, we're not going to keep loaning him and loaning him and loaning him. I think Harry Wilson was a shop window loan to Derby, and I think people can correct me if I'm wrong, but he had a much more impressive first half to his season than he did the second. He kind of tailed off a bit. And I just know from experience of watching Liverpool, watching football, there comes a point where it just sort of becomes obvious, like they don't want to keep him. They're not bringing him. If I was him, I'd be like, this is it. They want to sell me. They don't want to develop me. They want to sell me.
I think if we do sell him, we're going to see a bit of Michael Edwards magic here. But before we go on to that, I want to circle around to something that Brian touched on there, and we all kind of jokingly laughed about and referred to Chelsea previously as well, about the amount of players they have on loan. We've spoken about that on streams. I look at this a little bit differently. I see that as very, very, very clever and an absolute top-notch revenue stream for that football club, because they're sending out players to Holland to develop, but then they're getting money for them. I mean, look at De Bruyne as an example. They absolutely messed up there, but they do loan out players, and they can then get 2 or 3 years in Holland and move them on for good money. So there's something to be said for that, but at the same time, they do kind of take the piss a little bit on that level.
Yeah, like you said, from a business point of view, it is very good because they have so many young players. If one or two happens to be a De Bruyne or a Lukaku or whoever, then they're laughing. They have a great player, and if not, they just sell them and still make money. But very kind of sleazy, isn't it? Because it's ruining a lot of young players' careers. Like you look at Lucas Piazon, what's he now? He's like mid-20s. He's still just being loaned out. Hasn't had a career. Like it's
Thomas
not good.
Callis.
Yeah, it's all them. Like you said, it's good business, but it's a bit immoral, isn't it?
So with Wilson in mind, then, do you think that if we were to move him on this summer, that we would get that bit of a Michael Edwards first option, or maybe we knock a few quid off his price, so we have a buyback clause inserted in there?
I think you'd have to have some sort of buyback because you can see the potential there, and it'd be a damn shame if we didn't get him and had to do a Paul Pogba and spend 90 million on a player we spent. Got nothing for a
You'd
couple
want to
years
be
ago.
really, really stupid to do something
You
like
really
that,
would.
wouldn't you? I mean, your club would want to be an
Really
absolute mess
badly
from
run.
top to bottom to do something like that. I mean,
Amateurs.
you'd be one of imagine have a pixie or something running it, like it
You
would
would.
be, it'd be nuts. And do you know what, we can take a little bit, we often have a laugh about Spanish clubs and that, and the standard of some of their lower down teams and stuff, but Real Madrid, Benfica's, Barcelona, so all these type of clubs have been very clever at times in letting a player go very cheaply but having that buyback clause, and we've seen Spanish clubs do that numerous times.
Yeah, they've been doing it for, well, as long as I can remember, as long as sort of the Champions League, sort of as it is now, has been around. It was always sell-ons, buybacks, and it seemed to be something that was never in English football. A lot of things have slowly come into English football. This is one of those things, because I think it goes back to what Connor was saying there about the morality of how you deal with these young kids. If you say to them, oh, we're selling you, but we probably want you back, so here's the price for you. It's telling them one thing, it's selling them, but telling them something else. So it's very slow for the English to pick up on that. I'm surprised they haven't used it more, because you protect yourself.
I mentioned Benfica, and obviously Benfica not being a Spanish side, being a Portuguese, but I mentioned them because recently the thing with Jovic and Eintracht Frankfurt, Benfica must be absolutely kicking themselves at that situation.
What did they get?
7 million euro.
Jesus Christ! What did it say? What did Real Madrid
54
get?
million.
Oh, it must be sick.
And I think that was pound as well, 54
what
million.
was it? Was it a loan to buy?
It was a loan with an agreement to buy if Eintracht Frankfurt wanted to trigger the clause,
Okay.
and it was 7 million.
Oh, it's sickening.
And euro, so about 6 million, 5.8 million quid. Anyway, time is against us, so we'll move on to another player who's currently out on loan, and a player that I think has a future at Liverpool Football Club, and that player is Marko Grujic. He's been described by Hertha Berlin's manager, I think, as the best midfielder they've had there in a couple of decades.
It's crazy, yeah, because like you said, he's doing that well at a club that's at a decent level like that. Then you have Atletico Madrid sniffing around. You'd have to think he should get a chance with it.
Yeah, the rumours of the figures that Atletico Madrid are apparently being quoted by Liverpool, if you are to believe media sources, was 40 million plus.
Yeah, it's strange, because I don't get to watch German football, but everything the manager said about him, they probably didn't do themselves any favours by saying that he's probably the best midfielder that they've had at the club for 20 years, because his price goes up then. But if that's how impressed they are with him, I could definitely see there being a place for him back at Liverpool in pre-season, unless there's a loan already arranged, which has been discussed. But I think he will. I think we will see him in a Liverpool shirt again at some point.
So do I. I think that the smart money and the things I've read previously before this Atletico Madrid stuff came up was that Liverpool want to send him on loan, Connor, not to Hertha Berlin again. They want to push him on another step, maybe to somebody who has got European football coming up this season, because they want him to have that experience and Champions League or Europa League games. So for me, having, as we touched on in previous streams, having extended his contract before he went to Hertha Berlin, for me, a year-long loan to a club a level above, and then reassess the situation.
Yeah, I think that makes sense, because obviously he's playing at a good level, but can he handle the pressure then, like I said, in European football? And we're obviously going to be at the top level for a few years now, so kind of has to be able to do it if he's going to go at Liverpool.
And Brian, sending him on loan somewhere, and you've spoken about this off camera previously, it's all about the right loan, the right club, the right fitness levels, the right philosophy of how you play football.
Yeah, what chance have you got of getting back into a Jurgen Klopp team if you spend 2 years away playing football that's completely different style, completely different tactics to what Liverpool are doing? Absolutely pointless. You've lost 2 years of learning under Jurgen Klopp. At least if you're under a manager who plays exactly the same way, you're on the right track. Yeah, it has to be exactly, especially these days when tactics and systems are so intricate and so important and so so different, so varying between different coaches. You have to play the same style that Liverpool play, or else you're wasting your time till you come back.
I think it's important to point out here that when a player like Marco Gui does go out on loan, he's not just left to his own devices. There's liaison officers from Liverpool that do keep in contact with the player. Jurgen Klopp will no doubt be looking at videos. But if I'm Jurgen Klopp and I want to kind of give Gruy to look at what his future might be, I'm sending him tape after tape after tape of Fabinho and saying, do that, mate, do that, more of that, because you've got even more of a physical presence. If you can get your timing and your positioning and watch how Fabinho reads the game, there's a lot he can learn there.
Yeah, like you said, Grujic was like 6'5", just a massive unit, and if you could replicate even 60% of Fabinho, it's going to be a fucking cracking player. Like,
yeah,
even going forward, he seems to offer more. He's decent with the long shots, like.
I like the kid as well because I think he's got something about him internally. Do you remember when we bought him? He wanted to stay with Red Star and help them qualify for the Champions League, which they did. And we all know what happened to us there. But look, we still are in the final. That's important to point out. So Red Star have got their famous night. And we still get to a European final, so that was a win-win. But I think there is something about him internally. I think he has some integrity. I think he definitely has belief in himself, and I want to see him back at Liverpool.
Yeah, as we mentioned before off camera, he's Klopp's first signing, so he obviously saw something very impressive in him, and he decided, like you said, to make the move to bring him there early, allowed him to go back to Red Star. But those Serbian boys, you know how passionate they are, especially with playing for their hometown clubs. But the fact that he was his first signing always makes me think he has a future until it's abundantly clear that he's out of the picture. But just because he was the first lad he went for, made sure to get him in the door, said that's someone we want, makes me think it's not all is lost, even if it is another loan next year.
Last name on the list, I suppose, really quickly, we need to go through this one. Ryan Kent. We know he's on loan at Rangers. We know Gary McAllister, Stephen Gerrard have spoken very highly of his time at Rangers. I think the Rangers fans like him a lot as well. Liverpool, it seems, want to move him on, and Ryan Kent himself has spoken about wanting to just put down roots, and he's sick of reporting back for pre-season and then being shipped out on loan again. Gerrard wants another loan, Connor, but I suspect if Liverpool are to agree to this in any way, there will have to be a buy clause at the end of it.
Yeah, you think so, because like I said, Kent is starting to he's starting to come into his 20s now. He wants to start making a career for himself. He doesn't want to be loaned out to a different club every year. Whether he stay at Rangers or not, I'm not sure. Like, he probably has higher aspirations in Scotland, to be fair, not to put down Scotland, but you'd have to think he'd like a move to a decent English team or somewhere else abroad.
If, Brian, we do agree deal with Rangers and they do, say, yeah, we're going to take him back on loan, I think it would just be to allow Rangers to get that Europa League money, to get some more money in before they can actually put down their 7-10 million quid, whatever it is.
Yeah, I don't know how Rangers are fixed these days, not as well as they used to be, but whether they can afford Kent or not, I don't know. But if they want him on a loan, it has to come with an obligation to buy at the end of it. Not we'll have a look, we'll see.
Yeah, the Italian clubs were famous for negotiating these deals and then going, do you know what, fuck you. We're not signing them, deal with it.
That's for the kid as well, because like you said, he's made it clear now that he just wants something solid, and it's obviously not going to happen for him at Liverpool. So if Rangers want him, pay for him, pay the money, or else we'll let him go somewhere else. Yeah, the Stephen Gerrard connection, we don't know how strong that is. Is that a huge deal for Ryan Kent? We don't know. Could be. But if Rangers want him, I think, someone like Kent isn't going to be let go on a loan deal and run a year off his contract. I think they'll have to pay for him.
Gents, I think that brings us to a close in this Transfer Out podcast. And look, we will do one, of course, talking about the sexy stuff, the incoming players as well. I want to say a massive thank you to Brian and to Connor for joining me today. If you're watching this on the YouTube channel, guys, don't forget to hit that subscribe button and turn on our notifications. By turning on those notifications, you'll get notified every single time that we go live. And don't forget to give a thumbs up as well. Most importantly, though, we want to know your thoughts. So please do comment in the section below if we've missed out on somebody or there's a player that you think we haven't spoken about that might leave the club and may well leave the club, then please let us know that as well. But look, as always, take care of your families, tell your loved ones that you love them, and up the motherfucking Reds. I think we finally got that one done.
I think so.
I don't know why I started saying that thing, by the way, they take care of your families, tell your loved ones that you... I don't know where that came from.